Today we're going to be doing a target practice activity. The target that we're going to use is going to have these scores. The bullseye is going to be worth 5 points. The next ring is going to be worth 3 points. And the outer ring is going to be worth 1 point. The rules that we're going to use are each of you are going to take a turn and have 3 throws, and then you'll switch. If one of your throws is on the line of one of the rings, it counts towards whichever is the higher score. So if it's between the 1 or the 3, you would give yourself a 3. Also, if the ball fails to stick to the target, just keep throwing until you get it to stick. Make sure you throw from behind the line and record your score of all your 3 throws in the Velcro target notebook. We're going to need that for later. So before we begin, I want you to think to yourself, what is the highest possible score I could get from this game? Out of 3 throws, knowing that you could get 1, 3, or 5 on each throw, what is the highest possible score you could get? Take a minute to try and figure that out. The highest possible score that you could get using 3 throws in this scoreboard is 15. The way you'd get that is you'd have all 3 throws land in the bullseye. 5 times 3 equals 15. What is the lowest possible score? Take a minute to try and figure that out. The lowest possible score you could get using 3 throws is 3. The way that would happen is if all 3 of your throws landed on the outer ring of the target. 1 times 3 equals 3. Now, take a minute and think about each one of these situations. Could you, using 3 throws, get a 2? Could you get a 6? Could you get a 13? Could you get an 11? Or could you get a 17? Now take a minute to try and figure those out. Could you get a 2? No. Since you have 3 tennis balls, the score has to be at least 3. Could you get a 6? No. Because if you got a 3, a 1, and a 1, your score would be 5, which is lower than 6. And if you got a 3, and a 1, that would be 7, which is a score higher than the 6. No 6, right above and right below. 6 is impossible to get in this game. Could you get a 13? Yes, because if you get a 5, and a 3, that equals 13. Could you get an 11? Yes, because 5 plus 3 plus 3 equals 11. Could you get a 17? No, because the max score that we found before is 15. 17 is impossible. So now I want you to take a few minutes to play the game and play it 6 times and record your scores in your notebook. So go ahead and do that right now. Look for patterns. See if in your data you can find anything that has a sequence or pattern to it. Look in the total column and analyze it. The patterns you should find are that in the total scores, they are always odd. If you look at this example, you have a 3, a 7, a 9, 11, a 5, and another 11. No even numbers. In our current setup of the target, using 3 throws, it's impossible to get an even number. Also, the scores must be 15 or less because we found out the max score is 15. And also, the scores must be 3 or greater because the minimum score is 3. So now I want you to, using this rule, using this pattern, try and figure out what are all the possible scores and what are all the impossible scores for this game. Take a minute to figure it out. Make sure to use your pattern. So the possible scores are any score that is less than or equal to 15 and greater than or equal to 3. The score also must be an odd number. And so that brings us to either a 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, or 15 are the possible scores for this game. The impossible scores for this game are any numbers that are less than 3 or any numbers greater than 15 and any numbers that are even. So that gives us a lot of impossible scores. So now that we did it once together, I want you to create your own target. Make up your own point totals and keep track of what you get, making sure to write them down in your notebook. Just like before, I want you to look at the numbers and see if you can find any patterns. Then try and figure out what are the possible and impossible numbers that you could get using your target. Fill it out in the chart just like this. Go ahead.